This is like a really improvised mini podcast thing. I was just thinking about this earlier, and like I have all this knowledge that I really want to put out somewhere, like for learning different languages. So I wrote a list, like just as I was sitting there, I wrote a list of things that like tips that I would give to somebody who's learning a new language. So I have been learning Spanish for like over a year now. I've been studying Spanish, and I have been studying mostly in school, but like I find other things to do outside of school to help me practice my Spanish and like utilize it. So I've been learning a new language, and I've learned a lot from like having to learn it from scratch because no one in my family speaks Spanish. I don't have any kind of like history speaking Spanish, so I really had to learn everything from scratch. So the first tip I'm going to talk about is, okay, so when you're speaking another language, you can't speak with the voice you're speaking with, like with your native language. Like the voice that I have right now as I'm speaking English, I would not use this voice with Spanish or with German, okay? Because I speak some German, learning Spanish. I have to get better at my German though, because my German's not that great. And then, you know, English, obviously. But the voice that I'm speaking with right now is not the voice I would use to speak Spanish or German. That's an error I see a lot of people doing. I see them trying really hard to speak the language, and they have the grammar down, but they sound really bad. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Of course, if you're starting, it's not gonna be perfect. And I'm not saying mine is perfect either. Honey, I mess up all the time. I make mistakes and I mispronounce things, or I like my English accent decides to sneak up at random moments, and then I try to correct it and it just gets worse. But that's okay, because you're learning a new language. It's not a big deal, it's fine. You'll make mistakes when you're learning something new, right? You're not gonna be perfect right away, it's okay. But yeah, you have to try to use a different voice whenever you're speaking that language. And you can do this by, like, honestly, anywhere. You can listen to people. There's people around you oftentimes who speak Spanish. You can listen to them. You can watch TV shows. You can listen to music. That's how I did, and I will get to the music thing later because I have a really good tip for that. Listening to music, watching interviews of celebrities that you like, listening to how they pronounce things, and then apply that to yourself. Also learning the rules of pronouncing things can be helpful. Like in Spanish, all the vowels most of the time sound the same. A, E, I, O, U. So like knowing that, you know to pronounce an A letter with an A as A and not ah, you know, something like that. So don't use your voice that you're using right now, like if you're speaking your first language right now, don't use that for your new language. My next tip is that you have to speak, and just speak without being scared of messing up. Now, sometimes when I'm speaking, I still like question things. I'm like I'll say something and then I'll say like, was that right? Or like, is it this or this? I mean, you probably shouldn't do that. I'm trying to get better and just speak without doing that, but basically whenever you speak, just speak without being scared that you're gonna mess up, because you are gonna mess up. If you're not speaking your first language, you will mess up. And honestly, anyone who's judging you for it is someone who clearly has not learned another language. So if somebody is judging you for making mistakes in your second language, but they only can speak one, honey, they can't judge you. It's fine if you don't want to learn another language, but don't make fun of people who decide to learn another language, because it's a really big thing to learn a whole nother world, basically. And somebody who has learned more than one language, most likely, if they can remember how hard it was to learn these other languages, they won't make fun of you either, and they'll sympathize with you. But just speak without being scared, because if you're too scared to speak the other language, how do you expect to learn it? Like, yeah, you can learn how to write it, you can learn how to be able to listen to it and understand what other people are saying, but if you can't speak it, it defeats the whole purpose of learning another language. You learn another language in order to be able to communicate with other people. If you're not communicating, then what's the point of learning that language? Like, you have to get over that fear of not being perfect, and that's something that honestly is hard for me sometimes still, because I do tend to want to have things be like perfect, but when you're learning a new language, it's not going to be perfect, and you kind of have to accept that. And honestly, learning a language is like a lifelong thing. You know, even like right now, if you're in college, high school, middle school, whatever, you're still learning English. Like if you're in an American school, you're taking an English class, yeah, you're still learning English. You're going to be learning English your whole life. There are going to be words in English that you don't know. Learning a language is a lifetime experience, and you're never going to be perfect. Even people who speak like the native language, the one you're speaking, they make grammatical errors all the time too. Another thing, and this is something that I need to practice a bit more too, is to keep pushing when you feel like you've hit a wall. So like with learning a language, at some point it's gonna start to hurt your brain. Like I remember in class, like we would have times in class where we could only speak Spanish, and I felt like I didn't actually want to throw up. I wasn't nauseous, but like my head hurt so bad because I had to keep talking, like take a deep breath, because like, oh my god, wait a minute, hold on, because at some point you're speaking in the beginning, it's fine, but the more and more you speak, at some point you're going to hit that wall, and you're going to be like, I can't do it anymore, I can't do it anymore, I can't do it anymore, it's too much, I can't breathe, I feel suffocated. You can't, like, it's so annoying when you're trying to get your point across in your second language and you just can't. It's so annoying. But when that happens, you cannot stop. You have to continue trying, and it's going to feel sickening. You're going to feel like you want to throw up, but you're going to keep on pushing. Sometimes that I still resort to English, but I am trying honestly to not to, like, okay, if I'm trying to say something and I just can't, I'm going to be like, un momento, take a deep breath, and then try again. So when you're learning another language and you hit that wall and you just feel like you can't go anymore, keep on talking. You can't stop, okay? And it's especially good to practice this with people who are like you're close with, or not even close with, but people who are understanding that you're learning another language and they're patient. Some people, they won't always be patient with you, and that's okay. Nobody owes you that patience, but if they are, then it's great to kind of take a deep breath, take a minute, think about what you want to say, kind of reorganize your thoughts, and keep going, okay? Because if you stop when it gets hard, you're never going to get through that wall, and once you get through that wall, then you can actually be at a more fluent level in the language. But if you're just like, I'm gonna go back over here, then you're not going to learn the language, and you have to go through the wall, and then you can learn the language. Otherwise, you're not going to if you don't push yourself. It's kind of like with exercise, you know, what people say, like, your body can do a lot more than your mind thinks it can, right? So like your mind, when you're doing an exercise, will quit before your body does. It's the same thing with the language. You can continue going. You can keep speaking. You may have to ask, like, what's this word? How do you say this? You may have to look it up. That's fine. That's okay. You're learning. But if you stop and you give up, you're not going to get through the wall. You have to get through the wall, okay? You have to get through it. Okay, my next tip is listening to music and reading along the lyrics. Okay, this is my favorite tip to give of all time, because this is how, like, I really started loving Spanish. And before I took my first Spanish class, I was like, yeah, I need to learn Spanish because I need to be able to sing along to these lyrics, know what I'm saying, so that when I graduate, I can go to one of these concerts and I can just vibe with everybody and I get what everyone's saying. So, like, if you go on Spotify, I actually had my Spotify already open on my phone. If you go on Spotify, and then you click on a song, I just happen to have a Bad Bunny song right now. Let's see. You can read the lyrics. Sometimes not all songs will have this. Like, there's some songs I really love, but they don't have the lyrics. Sometimes I have to look it up on Google. But basically, you have the lyrics here, right? And, like, I can't play it because I'm going to get copywritten. You know, when you play the song, like, you can kind of sing along, you know what I mean? And, like, you can listen to it. Like, I can't play it right now because I'm going to get copywritten for it. But you can, like, listen to how the singer says it and kind of sing along with them. And this helps so much with, like, learning pronunciation, and then also just learning how to speak at a faster pace. And then you can kind of practice on implementing that in the way that you speak. Like, for one song, I don't remember which one it was. Wait, I think I do actually. Hold on. I think it was this. I think it was Regalo de Dios. And at first, I would say, like, Dios whenever I would say, like, so Dios means God, basically, if you don't know. I would say Dios, Dios, Dios. Like, I would be really, like, pronouncing each thing until I heard them say it here, and I said, that sounds different than the way I say it. Dios. Oh, that sounds a lot smoother than how I said it. So now I say Dios instead of Dios, that's a great example of how you can better your pronunciation. And another thing you can do is try to find like ways to immerse yourself in that language. Like one thing somebody was telling me that they do is they like to go on Omegle and they'll talk with strangers. Now me personally, I'm too scared to go on Omegle, especially alone. Like I would go on it with friends as long as I'm not at my house. I'm personally scared to do that, but that is something you can do. There are some apps where you can like text with people from around the world that speak the language that you want to speak, and you can text them and they can like correct you. So like, or like making other friends who speak the language, or like going to restaurants and trying to order your food in that language. Or if you can, I know this is kind of difficult for some people, like it's not the most accessible, but if you can travel to that country somehow, that's also a really great way. Especially like, now maybe be a little bit more advanced in your speaking capabilities, but if you can throw yourself in a situation where you kind of have to speak that language. Okay, my camera died. I said, if you can find a way to kind of put yourself in a situation where you have to speak the language that you were learning, that's great. Like, I mean, be safe about it, but like if you can put yourself in a situation where you have to speak that language, that is like the best way to learn. So that's basically all the tips that I have for learning a new language. So if you're learning a language, it'll be stressful. Just remember to take a deep breath and then keep pushing through the wall. Okay, break the wall down. Alright, so thank you for watching. I hope that you guys have a great language learning journey, and I know that you guys can all do it. Because like for every language, there has to have been at least one person who had to learn it from scratch, and they were able to. So if one person can do it, you can do it too. Okay, so enjoy your language learning experience, and thank you for watching. Bye!